The night had come alive in the city. The neon lights from the buildings cast long shadows down the quiet streets. But it wasn't the city that had my attention tonight. It was the knot in my stomach, a feeling I hadn't been able to shake all day. Dressed in a form-fitting red dress, I adjusted my hair one last time in the mirror. The reflection staring back at me seemed foreign, almost like someone else. The woman in the mirror didn't look like the woman I had been for the last 5 years of my life. Someone's wife, someone's confidant. Tonight, she was someone entirely different. Someone caught between desire and guilt. The elevator chimed, bringing me back to reality. The doors opened, and there he was, Elias Carter. The man I had spent countless nights dreaming about. Tall, dark, and enigmatic. He seemed like something out of a movie. He stood there, his presence commanding the air around him. The kind of man who didn't need to speak loudly to be heard. His eyes met mine, and there was an almost predatory gleam in them. His lips curled into a small, knowing smile. "You're stunning," he said, his voice low, dripping with confidence. His words were a caress, pulling me in with their intimacy. I swallowed hard. "Thank you." I managed, my throat dry, trying not to let my nerves show, but I couldn't tear my eyes away from his. There was something magnetic about him, something dangerous that I couldn't resist. His fingers brushed against mine as he took my hand. His touch firm but slow, like he had all the time in the world. I had never felt so alive, so awake. He led me into the suite, the city skyline sprawling out before us. But I barely noticed. The world had narrowed down to just him and me. As Elias removed his jacket, I couldn't help but watch the fluidity of his movements. Every step he took was deliberate, controlled, yet exuded such raw masculinity that I could barely breathe. His shirt clung to his body, showing off muscles that had once only been the stuff of fantasies. His scent, a combination of clean and earthy, filled my senses, pulling me deeper into his orbit. "You've been watching me," he said, his voice now a touch colder, a knowing edge beneath it. Heat crept up my cheeks. I had imagined this moment so many times, but now, standing in front of him, everything felt real and terrifying. I admitted softly, my voice barely a whisper. His smirk deepened, and the air between us crackled with tension. "And now you want to know what it feels like?" I nodded before I could stop myself, my breath catching. I knew this was wrong. I knew the consequences. But in that moment, nothing else mattered. He was right in front of me, and I wanted to feel everything. His eyes darkened, shifting from amusement to something much deeper, something primal. "Say it," he commanded gently, his voice both a suggestion and a demand. "Tell me what you want." The hesitation I felt earlier was gone now. I could barely recognize the woman I had been when I walked into the elevator. I was no longer the cautious wife or the careful woman who had always played by the rules. I was just a woman, caught in a moment of intense need. "I want to know what it feels like," I whispered. The words were out before I could stop them. They felt right in my mouth, even though they were dangerous. His eyes flashed with approval, and before I could take another breath, his hands were on me. The grip he had on me was possessive, yet gentle, like he was both claiming me and cherishing me all at once. His lips met mine with a force that took me by surprise. There was no softness in this kiss, no hesitation. It was raw and immediate, and as soon as his tongue met mine, I felt my entire body come alive. My pulse raced, my hands trembling as I clung to him. Every kiss was a command, every touch a demand for more. I had thought about this moment, imagined it 1,000 times, but nothing compared to the reality, nothing compared to Elias's certainty. I had never been with a man like him before. Every movement he made was so precise, so sure. It felt like he already knew what I needed before I did. He moved against me with an intensity that left no room for doubt. He knew exactly how to drive me wild, and I let him. For a while, I forgot everything. I forgot the man I was married to, the life I had built, and the consequences of what I was doing. There was just him and me. Together, in the heat of the moment, everything blurred into nothing more than sensation. His hands, his lips, his body, they were all that mattered. Now, I don't know how much time passed. Minutes, hours. It didn't matter by the time I lay next to him, breathless, entangled in sheets. My mind was a blur. The satisfaction coursing through me was unlike anything I had ever felt before. A satisfaction that went beyond physical pleasure. A satisfaction that reached deep into my soul. For a fleeting moment, I felt powerful, alive in a way I hadn't been in years. But that feeling was quickly overshadowed by the weight of what I had done, what I had risked.